Giannis sent a thank you card to the Bucks, who traded away Drew Holiday in the Damian Lillard trade last offseason. Holiday's the first player to average 15 points while committing 0 turnovers over a 3-game span in the finals since 1990. Joel Embiid inquired on social media last night, asking simply, did the Bucks give them the championship? Brian Windhorst back here with us. Windy, I'll ask you this. Is Embiid right?
No, the Celtics have a lot going for them, but I will say it's a bit of a journey to evaluate the Dame Lillard trade that I've been on and others have been as well. At the outset of the trade, you looked at it and said, man, the Bucks just raised their ceiling and increased their chances because of the offense that they added. But as soon as Drew Holiday ended up with the Celtics, which was just a few days, I thought that their net positive was really narrowed. They were ahead, but I really thought that they contributed to helping their primary opponent get better. But then, a couple of weeks later, Giannis signed a contract extension, and you can't disregard that when you evaluate that trade. He signed that contract extension because he was so excited about teaming up with Dame Lillard. And so I have to calculate that in. But now I look at how great the Celtics look, and I see that they've extended Drew Holiday, and I would expect them to extend Derek White, and I do think they'll be able to bring almost this exact team back next year and see that this team will be definitely the favorites to repeat, is my guess. I have to even go back another step and reevaluate it again, Stephen A. So that series of transactions, which was not just the Dame Lillard trade, but the one that brought Drew Holiday to Boston, ends up being one of the most consequential we've had in years in the NBA.
It's consequential, and you're right about everything you're saying. The flip side to that, however, though, Wendy, is that, the impetus for this question was Joel Embiid's comments. And so just simply dissecting where he's coming from, well, you could say he's wrong, or you can challenge Joel Embiid in this regard. What the hell are you, chopped liver? You're the reigning league MVP coming into this season.
Right.
If you were healthy with the elevation of Tyrese Maxey, what are you saying? You could not have beaten Boston? Is that what you're telling the basketball world? Because Boston and their moves and Milwaukee and their moves had nothing to do with Philly. Joel Embiid, you still there? If you healthy, what you trying to say? If you're healthy with Tyrese Maxey, what you trying to say? What are you trying to say about Tobias Harris? What are you trying to say about Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey? What are you trying to say about the roster that you have in Philadelphia? So one could ask that question to Joel Embiid. Secondly, when you look at Milwaukee, okay, are you saying they did it intentionally? I don't think they did. I'm not sure you knew Boston was going to get Drew Holiday. But even if you did, you certainly felt higher about Damian Lillard. Giannis Antetokounmpo was the one that supported Adrian Griffin being the head coach. He obviously had supported him being gone. And Doc Rivers is there now. So what are you trying to say about the Milwaukee Bucks in terms of what their intent was? And last but not least, when we look at Boston, even though we had them as the prohibitive favorites, obviously them being stacked and loaded in the same breath, Denver wasn't supposed to have what happened to them happen to them. We didn't see Minnesota coming, okay?
That's
and
true.
Obviously, we didn't see the Dallas Mavericks coming. So there are an abundance of layers to this with Joel Embiid's remarks to dissect. But the only thing we can really point to or really ask ourselves invasively, what are you trying to say, Joel Embiid? That Milwaukee did something intentionally? In the end, what are you saying about yourself? Because if Joel Embiid is healthy, with a healthy Tyrese Maxey, we can't summarily dismiss what Philadelphia would bring to the table and whether or not Philly could have given Boston a run for their money, because we know there's no answer for a healthy Joel Embiid. He's unstoppable.
I will say this, Molly. I will say this. Last year, the Celtics were close but not good enough to winning the championship. They went out and made 2 major acquisitions with Porzingis and Drew Holiday. Philadelphia has 2 All-Stars in Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, a whole bunch of salary cap space, and tradable first-round picks. This is the summer that the 76ers could make a couple of acquisitions that could change the paradigm in the Eastern Conference.
Absolutely. And guys,
Absolutely.
don't forget, I mean, Miami didn't have Jimmy Butler and a bunch of guys. 699 and go up 3-0 in the NBA Finals. The Mavs' Luka Doncic fouled out with 4:12 remaining. Here's Perk with a strong take about Luka's performance.
Luka off the game. He drained his team emotionally. Even J. Kidd. And it started from the tip, the complaining, every damn possession down, the falling on the floor, right? Not getting back in transition, not making a second effort. The bull fouls. Yet that was not a charge. Why even put yourself in that position? He tapped out and he left his team hanging. By far, the worst performance I've seen for Luka in the playoffs. Lack of energy, lack of leadership, emotions wasn't there. He went to bed at the crib.
Strong take right there. He wet the bed at the crib. Brian Windhorst back here with us and CJ McCollum here in studio. CJ, I'll start with you. What do you make of what Perk had to say? Was he fair there?
I think a lot of what he said was true. I think the delivery was a little harsh in terms of saying it was the worst career playoff game Luka has ever played in. But I think a lot of validity is there in terms of the effort not seeming to be there consistently, defensively having some lapses where I think the injury, the workload, him being the number one option for so long, facing double teams, I think all those things kind of factored into his lack of focus or lack of energy. He did have a couple fouls that he shouldn't have gotten, trying to swipe at the ball after a missed shot, a foul in Peyton Pritchard at 40 feet away from the basket. Those are the fouls that you can't have. I don't mind the fifth foul, him guarding Jaylen Brown. I don't mind the foul that he got on Jaylen Brown. That was number 6. Those shouldn't have been fouls 5 and 6. Those should have been fouls 2, 3, 3, 4. But I think the moral of the story is Luka is so great. We expect more from him on the defensive end in terms of his effort. He's not going to just get stops all the time. This is a hard league to get stops in, but the effort has to be there. You have to force tough twos. You got to dig down and really show that you care on both sides of the ball. And I think historically, he's been so great offensively that none of these lapses have mattered. Now it's at the highest stage, so it's more magnified.
Wendy?
Well, I'm not going to deny. I'm not going to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Wendy. Go ahead, Wendy.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Stephen A.
I'm not going to deny that Perk sounded a bit harsh. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know there wasn't FCC airwaves, so there was no crime committed. But his delivery could be a touch softer. Big Perk, he knows that. But here's the deal: that was frustration seeping out of him, and the frustration was justified. Luka Doncic in the fourth quarter of these 3 game finals appearances, has shot 20% from the field, 3 of 15. He's averaged less than 3 points in the fourth quarter, and he has more turnovers and fouls than he does field goals. That's inexcusable. And then to be going off at the bench, at the coaches, screaming and cussing at them because you want them to challenge something they shouldn't even have challenged, knowing that you put yourself in that position because on at least 2 or 3 occasions you committed unnecessary fouls that were highly unproductive, way away from the basket, had no business doing those things. He put himself in that position. And I think for me, CJ and Wendy, and I said this earlier, CJ, before you came on, I don't think people are speaking enough about how Luka messed up the game for Kyrie. We're looking at Kyrie having 35. We're looking at him and how prolific he was last night. How he had his 20 points in the first half. How he hadn't hit any threes in the first 2 games of the series, going 0 for 8 from 3-point range. But then he goes ballistic last night. We're looking at that. Well, CJ, you know the game better
defeated. Enemy double kill.
Ilko Chong Sunmin.
Enemy onslaught. Your tower has been destroyed. An ally has been defeated. An enemy has been defeated.
Our base is under attack.
There is no greater art than the creation of
An enemy has been defeated.
The light shines above us.
An ally has been defeated. You have been defeated.
Shine on me. Run us. Die.
Our base is under attack.